At first glance, an ordinary evening, an ordinary marriage, the usual exhaustion after work. But sometimes, destruction doesn't begin with betrayal, but with what's left unsaid. A single look, a single name spoken too cautiously, can awaken what has long slept beneath the mask of familiar love. Tension hangs in the air, as if someone quietly opened the door to the past, and it walked in without knocking. There are no heroes here, only people entangled in memories, resentments, and bitter comparisons. When the past becomes the present and trust turns into loose change, only one question remains. How hard does the heart have to be hit before it finally stops believing? Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends or family. It really helps my channel a lot. Please tell me in which city or country you watch this video. I value every one of your comments. So, let's get started. It all began on a Thursday evening, an otherwise ordinary night, until Catherine, my wife of 5 years, spoke in a way that deeply unsettled me. "Mason, there's something I need to tell you," she said quietly, her voice trembling with a hint of uncertainty. It was late, much too late for a serious conversation, but the way she looked at me, her eyes a mixture of softness and apprehension, told me this was no typical discussion. I could feel the gravity of what was coming. "Catherine," I said, trying to mask the growing unease in my voice. "What's going on? You're making me nervous." She took a deep breath, as though trying to steady herself before she spoke. "It's about Julian." A sinking feeling hit me in the chest, the weight of her words pressing down on me. Julian, her ex-husband. His name was all too familiar, and I never thought I'd hear it again, certainly not in this context. I'd met Julian only once, years ago. He was a man of considerable wealth, his success far beyond anything I could ever dream of. When they were married, he spoiled her with lavish gifts, but there was always something unsettling about him, something in the way he still seemed to exert influence over her that I couldn't shake. "What about Julian?" I asked, striving to keep my voice steady. Catherine paused, then hurriedly spoke, her words tumbling out in a rush. "I saw him today, and then he called me afterward. He wants to see me again." My chest tightened. I struggled to keep my emotions in check, but bitterness crept into my voice. "Why would you want to see him, Catherine?" I asked, the words sharper than I meant them to be. Her eyes widened in surprise, but she didn't look away. "I don't want anything from him, Mason," she said, her voice earnest. "I swear. But he's been reaching out a lot lately, and I just—" Her voice faltered, uncertain. "Catherine, why didn't you tell me about this sooner?" I interrupted, frustration tightening around my chest. "You know how I feel about him." "I know," she whispered, her voice cracking. "But I didn't want to upset you. I thought it would just go away." "Did it go away?" I asked, my tone softening, a trace of vulnerability slipping through. "No," she admitted, shaking her head. "It didn't." I leaned back in my chair, trying to digest everything she had just said. My world felt as if it had tilted on its axis. My mind raced, but I forced myself to maintain a calm exterior. "So, what now?" I asked, the words barely escaping my lips. "I don't know," she replied, her voice trailing off. There was a long silence, the uncertainty in her eyes only deepening my own sense of unease. Catherine had always been open with me, so why was she so distant now? Why hadn't she told me about Julian's contact earlier? "I just don't know what to do, Mason," she said, meeting my gaze at last. "I'm not going back to him, but I can't shake the feeling that he won't leave me alone." I swallowed hard, forcing my voice to remain steady. "So, what do you want me to do?" Catherine bit her lip, staring down at her hands. "I don't know, but I need you to trust me. I don't want anything to do with Julian. Please, you have to believe that." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But something deep inside me gnawed at me, a sense that this wasn't just some innocent conversation. There was something more going on, something I wasn't ready to confront. In the days that followed, my suspicions only deepened. Small things, subtle signs, seemed to add weight to the gnawing feeling in my gut. Then came the argument that, looking back, marked the turning point. After a long, exhausting day at work, I came home, hoping for a quiet evening and a nice meal to unwind. But instead, I found Catherine at the kitchen table, absorbed in her phone, takeout containers scattered across the counter. I couldn't hold it in anymore. "You know," I said, my voice tired, "I'd really appreciate it if you cooked dinner once in a while." Catherine didn't even glance up. "Oh, honey, I'm sorry. I've just been busy." "Busy?" I repeated, frustration creeping into my tone. "Busy doing what? Scrolling through Instagram? Watching reality TV?" "You've been home all day," I added, my voice sharp. She finally looked up, setting her phone aside. I was researching new interior design ideas for the living room. "Right?" I said, sarcasm dripping from my words. "Because that's definitely more important than, I don't know, feeding your husband after a long day of work." The room seemed to grow colder, despite no actual change in temperature. Catherine straightened in her chair, now defensive. "You know, Mason, I work too. I work hard to keep this house running smoothly. I make sure you always have clean clothes and a comfortable home to come back to." I couldn't help but scoff. Running smoothly? By ordering takeout every other night and leaving the dishes in the sink? Her eyes narrowed, her voice rising. "Don't be ridiculous. I do more than just sit around all day. I take care of you. I make sure you look good. I keep you happy." "You keep me happy?" I asked, incredulity lacing my words. I couldn't help the bitter laugh that escaped, the sound slipping from me before I could stop it. Was this the reality I now had to face? She never missed a chance to remind me of the money I brought home, as if I should be grateful for the little she deemed me worthy of. Her expression tightened. "You know, if you made what Julian does, I wouldn't have to worry about fixing dinner," she said coolly. I leaned back in my chair, arms folded across my chest, fixing my gaze on her. "Oh, really?" I said, sarcasm dripping from my words. "Is that what this is now? Julian again?" Catherine's face faltered, the shift brief, almost imperceptible, before she regained her composure. "I didn't mean it like that," she said quickly. "Of course you didn't," I shot back, my voice dripping with disdain. "It was just a slip, like it always is when we fight. Julian always manages to sneak in somehow, as if he's still here, like he never left." I spat, my bitterness clear in every syllable. "Stop twisting my words, Mason," she snapped, her voice defensive. "You know that's not what I meant." I sat up straight, the edge in my voice matching the heat rising within me. "But that's exactly what it sounds like, isn't it? Every argument, you drag him up like he's the measure by which I fail as a husband." Catherine stood abruptly, arms crossed. "I never said you were failing." "You don't need to," I fired back, my frustration boiling over. "It's in every single comment about what Julian used to do, buying you expensive gifts, earning 6 figures, and now this? Telling me I'm not making enough to get a home-cooked meal? Do you hear yourself?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out. For a fleeting moment, I saw something soften in her eyes, perhaps a glimmer of understanding about how hurtful her words had been. But it was gone just as quickly, replaced by her usual defensive stance. "You're overreacting," she said dismissively. "I was frustrated, that's all. You came home in a bad mood and we ended up fighting about dinner." "Overreacting?" I almost laughed, though it was anything but amused. "I work all day, every day, so you can have everything you want. And when I come home, I expect a decent meal, not some overpriced takeout. How is that unreasonable?" The silence that followed felt suffocating, thick with all the words we'd left unsaid. The tension hung in the air, unspoken and growing with every passing second. We said nothing more that evening. I didn't want to be angry. didn't want this constant tension between us. But it felt like we were stuck in an endless loop, the rift in our marriage widening with every argument, with every silence that followed. Cracks that we had been ignoring were now impossible to overlook. Catherine retreated to the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. I sat there, staring at the empty counter. It wasn't just about the dinner. It was everything. The things we never said, the things we swept away. A bitter aftertaste lingered as I sat alone in the kitchen. What were we even fighting for anymore? The next morning, I woke up to an empty bed. Catherine was gone. Normally, I'd find her downstairs, humming quietly as she made coffee. But today, the house felt unnervingly still. I went downstairs and found a hastily written note on the kitchen table. I'm sorry. I'll be back late. C. Late? What did that even mean? Was she going to her sister's place? The thought made a cold knot tighten in my stomach. The day dragged on, everything blurring into a haze of meaningless meetings and unanswered emails. My mind kept returning to the argument, the biting words, the accusations that stung like fresh wounds. When I finally got home, the house was dark. Catherine still wasn't there. I called her, but it went straight to voicemail. Panic started creeping in. Where was she? Was she okay? Maybe she'd gone to her parents'. I called them, but they hadn't heard from her either. The hours crawled by, each one more unbearable than the last. I paced the living room, my mind spinning with worst-case scenarios. Finally, around midnight, my phone rang. It was Catherine. A wave of relief washed over me, only to be replaced by frustration when I heard the tremble in her voice. "Mason," she whispered, her words barely audible. "I'm so sorry. I needed to get out, clear my head." "Where the hell were you?" I demanded, my voice rising with the anger I'd held in all day. "I was worried sick. I just needed some time alone," she mumbled. "I didn't mean to make you worry." "You didn't mean to?" I scoffed. "You left without a word, Catherine." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "I'll be home soon," she said finally, her tone sharp and defensive. I didn't respond. The silence stretched out. I hung up, my mind clouded with frustration and confusion. 30 minutes later, the front door creaked open. I turned to see her walking in, avoiding my gaze. "I'm going to stay at my sister's for a few days," she said, her voice distant and cold. "I just need space." I stared at her, unable to find words. She moved methodically, packing her things with a sense of routine, as if none of this was out of the ordinary. Finally, I managed to ask, my voice small, "When will you be back?" "I don't know," she replied, zipping up a suitcase. I needed a moment alone, away from everything. Without a word, she grabbed her bag, walked toward the door, and left. The silence in the following days was suffocating. We barely spoke. There were no calls, no texts, just an overwhelming, oppressive stillness in the air. I threw myself into work, trying to drown out the unease creeping into my thoughts. But no matter how busy I kept myself, something gnawed at me. Something wasn't right. Then, on the third day, while I sat at my desk at the office, my friend and co-worker Adam approached quietly. He glanced around nervously before leaning in and speaking in a hushed tone. "Mason, I need to tell you something," he said, his expression serious. "I saw Catherine the other night," he added, and my stomach clenched with anxiety. "Where?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, too afraid to hear the answer. "She was at a bar downtown with some guy," Adam explained. "I don't think anything happened, but they were definitely close, talking, laughing, and then they left together, hugging as they walked out." I fought to stay calm, but my heart raced in my chest. "Who was he?" I managed to ask, barely controlling my emotions. Adam described the man, and it didn't take long for me to piece it together. Julian. She had been messaging him for days, claiming she had no interest in him anymore and didn't want to see him. Clearly, that wasn't the truth. A sense of dread settled deep within me, so I made the decision to hire a private investigator. I told him exactly what I needed. Follow her, wherever she went. The next day, he contacted me with his findings. Catherine had gone out to dinner with Julian, and it was clear their connection went beyond friendship. After the meal, they drove to his house. They exited the car, shared a kiss on the sidewalk, and then went inside together. The investigator had captured every moment in a series of photographs, irrefutable proof. As I stared at the images, it felt as if the world beneath me had crumbled away. I struggled to comprehend what I was seeing. I couldn't believe it. Catherine was betraying me, and with her ex-husband no less. The next morning, I didn't waste any time. I went straight to a lawyer. I had to act fast to make it final. My marriage was over. She had betrayed me, and with her ex-husband. I didn't need to hear her explanation. The truth was laid bare in those photographs. By noon, the divorce papers were ready. That afternoon, I went to Catherine's sister's house, the photographs clenched tightly in my hand. Her sister's puzzled look didn't stop me. "Where is she?" I demanded. She hesitated before speaking. "What's going on, Mason?" Catherine entered the room, her face guarded. "What's wrong?" I slammed the photos down on the table and pointed at them. "This," I said. "This is what's going on." She froze, her face draining of color as she recognized the images. "Mason, she started, but I cut her off. "So, this is what you needed space for?" I asked, my voice cold. "Running to your ex-husband? This is how you handle things?" "I didn't mean for this to happen," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I was just confused." "Confused?" I repeated, my voice sharp. "By going back to him? This is your solution?" "I never wanted to hurt you," she said softly. "I'm so sorry." I shook my head. "Sorry doesn't fix this. You've been cheating on me with him, Catherine." A deep sigh escaped me as my anger simmered down, replaced by a hollow exhaustion. "I can't keep doing this. I'm done. I've already filed for divorce. This is over." Her eyes filled with panic. "Please don't leave me, Mason. I'm sorry." I didn't respond. Without another word, I turned and walked out. The divorce was finalized quickly. Catherine moved in with her sister, hoping to reconnect with Julian now that she was free. But Julian wasn't interested in reigniting their relationship. He only wanted something casual. Realizing she had lost everything, Catherine came back to me, asking for forgiveness. "I made a mistake," she said, her eyes filled with tears. "Please, Mason, can we start over?" But I had already moved on. "I've made peace with everything, Catherine," I told her, "but I can't go back. I deserve better." With that, she left, taking the last remnants of our broken marriage with her, and I closed the door on that chapter of my life for good, ready to face whatever the future held. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.